What's up, everybody? I go by the name of Domo.
And I go by the name of Yoshiko.
We sit with entrepreneurs and artists across disciplines to share their stories, insight, and gems. Their journey will inspire you to think about community and your own narrative, how it shapes who you are, and what your legacy will be.
You're listening to No Blueprint.
No Blueprint.
To No Blueprint.
No Blueprint.
You are listening to No Blueprint.
My name is Clarize Baldoz. I'm from Seattle, born and raised. I'm a hairstylist in West Seattle at a salon called Beehive Salon.
Hey.
Yeah.
What hospital?
Group Health, I think.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
I was gonna say happy to be Swedish, but I guess.
No, it's not, surprisingly, but all like my aunts and my mom work at Swedish, so I'm surprised that it wasn't there either.
Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was at Group Health.
Okay.
I'm like almost positive.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That's awesome. The first question that we like to ask folks is if you had a documentary or an autobiography named after you and your life, what would it be called?
Yeah, I was thinking about this all day yesterday and while I was driving here. I don't know. I don't know. Tiny but mighty or something like that.
I like it. Representing for the short folks.
Yeah,
Okay.
Like short people but big personalities
Right.
and big dreams.
Talk to us about what neighborhood you grew up in.
I was born and raised in Columbia City. That's where my mom's house is and still is. And then my parents are divorced, so then my dad had a house in Hillman City.
Okay.
So I definitely grew up in the South End.
So they divorced but still stayed like blocks away.
Yeah, I don't know.
Swag.
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I like to think it is.
Yeah.
Because they just wanted it to be easy for us.
Shout out to them.
I assume, yeah.
Shout out to them. That's
Yeah,
dope.
it was literally like 3 blocks one direction, and they chose a school that was like right in the middle. I went to St. Edward's Catholic School, which is on Orcas and Rainier. And so if you headed like a few blocks down towards Seward Park, that was towards my dad's house. And then if you walk towards MLK, a few blocks, that was like my mom's house.
Oh, crazy.
So both my grandmas would pick me up like on either weekend, and it would just like walk 2 blocks up this way
That's
and then walk
dope.
2 blocks down that way. Yeah.
So our studio space is actually on Rainier and Orcas, the corner of Rainier and Orcas.
We're at the Collaboratory?
Right
or?
above the Collaboratory.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
How did your parents get to Seattle?
My grandpa on my dad's side came here first, and I believe my dad and my oldest aunt, they came with him, and then my dad went back, met my mom, got married, moved back here, petitioned her, and then she moved, and then she also petitioned my grandma too, on her mom's mom.
Okay.
When did your paternal grandfather come to Seattle? Do you remember? Do you know the year?
I don't know. Probably sometime in the 70s, I think. Yeah, mid to late 70s. Because I'm pretty sure my mom officially moved here in like 87, 88. Because I was born here.
Okay. And from where?
From Santa Mesa in the Philippines, in Manila.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I just have one older brother.
Okay.
Who's 5 years older than me.
So you're the baby.
Yes.
Okay.
I am the baby.
And you're the only girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a double-edged sword. It really is.
Say more about that.
My brother always used to say that I got everything. Like everything. Because I was the baby and I was the girl. But in my opinion, he got to do a lot more stuff than I used to do because he was the oldest and he was the boy. You know, the rules were different, so
That's
yeah.
real. That's real. That's
Yeah,
funny.
perception's everything. I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you went to private school all through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Is that a K through 12?
No. So it's a K through 8, and then I went to Seattle Prep for high school.
What was that like?
It was great. Like the first 2 years, I think were really, really hard for me. Because going to St. Edward's, which was in the heart of the South End, so there was maybe one white kid.
Yeah.
Like in middle school.
Wow.
I still remember he's just like the one. I know who he is.
Yeah. We're still friends now.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're not. But so I grew up, with like predominantly like black kids around me, Asian kids around me, Hispanic kids around me, and then you go to Seattle Prep and it's like 95% white.
Yeah.
And it was such an odd adjustment for me because I had never felt like a minority until that point.
Right.
So the first 2 years, I had a really hard time adjusting. And I kind of like rebelled academically, like I skipped school a lot. I just always remember begging my mom to go to Franklin. Like I just wanted...
Because everybody in your neighborhood went to Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, like one of my best friends to this day, he went to a Seattle prep as well, but he had like this older group of guy friends that also went to St. Edward's, also went to Seattle prep. Like I didn't have that kind of connection,
Right.
so I just felt like I was kind of floating around for a while, and then it wasn't until like sophomore year where I found the dance team there, and I got recruited on that. That I kind of felt at home, and even then I didn't really feel at home.
Okay.
It wasn't until junior year, I think, that I finally was like, oh, I actually like this place. Like, it's tight.
Okay.
And then by the time I graduated, I really enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
And then what type of dancing?
Hip hop,
Nice.
of course.
Right.
You even have to ask
I mean,
me.
because people don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
It's great.
That's awesome. What
Yeah.
what was the hip hop team like? What were y'all dancing to?
There was, let's see, how many of us? There isn't that many of us.
Yeah.
I think it must have been maybe like 12.
Yeah.
Predominantly girls of color. And I think at the time when I was on the team, one black dude, and he was a captain, and we were dancing to stuff like Chris Brown,
Okay.
and like Carrie Hilson, and just kind of 2000, like T-Pain,
Those early 2000 hits.
Yeah, those mid 2000, early 2000. Yeah, that's what we were dancing to.
Do you perform at games? What does the dance team do?
At the time, it's changed a lot. I actually used to work with them as an assistant coach until about last year. But so it's changed a lot. But back then we were only performing at like assemblies.
Yeah.
We got like a very small part in a play that was like made by the drama teacher, and that's about it. We only really performed at assemblies, and they were short. They were maybe like a couple minutes long. But it's changed over time by the time that I was a senior.
Were you always into hair?
No, yeah. I mean, I guess you could say I was, in the sense that during that time of dancing, I was following a lot of dancers that had like cool, edgy haircuts, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I want to try that. Or they would have like pieces of their hair like colored, and I was like, oh, that looks so tight.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do that. But I never really had that.
How did you get into hair?
Purely coincidental.
Tell us the story.
Okay. I went to Evergreen State College in Olympia for a quarter, and my whole plan was, and the whole reason why I chose that school is, one, they don't have grades. It's like pass fail, and you can make up your own major. So I was like, oh, this will be perfect for me, because all I want to do is dance and learn about dance and kind of be in that environment. And so they had a program there called Dance at the Body, which was anatomy, dance, and dance history. Totally up my alley. But I ended up not enjoying it as much as I thought it would. Like, socially, it was not anything that I thought it was going to be. I ended up feeling like people were more closed off and not as open-minded as I thought it would be for a school that kind of was known as the hippie school.
Right. I was about to say, like, Evergreen is hella hippie.
Hella granola, hella hippie.
Yeah.
It's all love. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But then I also, I realized that me growing up kind of straight edge, going to Catholic schools, like, that was the side that wasn't very appreciated there. So I couldn't really find a lane, so to speak. And I just also thought it was so weird that I feel like it was a school that a lot of rich kids went to rebel against their parents. You know what I mean? Like, when I would go to school, I lived in a mod, which was kind of like a house, like a Rambler style house, kind of on campus but further away. And so you could have your own car or whatever park there. And I would see kids like pull up in like Beamers, but wearing like cargo pants and like dreadlocks and like very Rastafari'd out. And I got so confused. Yeah. I had no idea. So that on top of feeling like I was being isolated by people, it just was not what I wanted. And and then I felt like I was still very tied to the community here dance wise. That I was going to like coming back to battles and like coming to UW and like their whole Sweet 16 that they would do. There were certain classes that I wanted to take from master choreographers that were always here. So I found myself coming back a lot, almost every single weekend. And finally my mom just kind of like propositioned me and was like, you don't seem happy there. And so why are you still going there? Do you think you could do what you're doing there on your own here? And so I was like, oh, I guess I could take dance classes on my own. I could go to the library on my own and just rent out books about different famous like choreographers and ballerinas and things like that. So that's when I decided to drop out. And then on the way home after dropping out, it was around the holidays, and one of my roommates was from San Francisco and headed home, and I took her to the airport. But before I took her to the airport, she asked me to take her to a salon because she just needed a haircut. And then I actually got a haircut with her, alongside her, and I was very specific about what I wanted it to look. I had no idea anything about layers or texture or anything, and I was like, I just want my hair to look exactly like this. And I was just kind of an asshole about it. And taking her to the airport, she was like, you might as well just learn how to cut your own hair.
And that's what it was?
And that's what it was. And she said that, and my first reaction was, what? Like, you can go to school for that? I didn't know. I thought you just, I don't know, do that. I just thought you always would just get hired to do hair or something. She was like, no, you should just learn how to do it. And she did point out that within that 3-month frame of like me being together with her at the school or whatever, I had colored my hair like 3 different times. And I didn't even realize it. And so it just kind of got gears working in my mind. And my best friend, her cousin was in beauty school. And so I talked to her cousin, took a tour at Jean Juarez, where I ended up going to school, and it just kind of made sense. And it just clicked. Like, I felt like the people there, with the way that they looked, their style, everything, it just made sense to me.
Nice. How soon after leaving Evergreen did you start at Jean Juarez?
Let's see. I dropped out November, December, took a tour in December, but I waited until March to actually enroll, because I didn't want to like be that impulsive. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, do I really want to do this, or was this just something nice that she said that I was like, let me think about it.
What was that like to go to Jean Juarez?
It was great. It was just a weird experience for me. I don't know. Again, I still felt very like not in my own skin. I felt more comfortable there than I did at Evergreen for sure. But it was just like such a hodgepodge of people, like different ages, doing different things, different intentions with hair and stuff like that, that it was interesting. It was still fun. It was like probably the most creative I've ever been.
How long did you go there for?
I think it was a little over a year. You can finish if you don't get sick ever, if you don't miss any days, and you're not messing around, you could probably graduate in like 9 months. And then it's up to, I think they give you up to a year and a half. And then if you're for some reason still in beauty school, you have to pay more money.
Speak to us about like what that is, because I think that probably only folks that have been to beauty school will be able to like speak to what that curriculum is.
Right.
But like, what exactly are you doing?
Learning? So the first 3 months, the program, or how Jean Juarez does it, is it's design. So you learn about your hair, the hair structure. So like all the molecules and all the layers and stuff like that, diseases and stuff like that. And then that's probably your first maybe month, and you test out on that. That's like regular kind of very anatomy based. And then you start learning haircuts and like the angles of haircuts, different haircuts for different shape faces. And then you have a mannequin and you start doing those haircuts on a mannequin. And it's just a very simple, structured thing. And then you get tested out on each haircut. And then by the end of that 3 months, you bring in a live model of your choice and you do a haircut of your choice. And they just watch you and grade you on that. And then you either pass or you don't. And then you move on to color. So you learn all about color theory and placement of foils and how to apply color and chemicals like relaxers, perms, and what it does to like break down the hair and rebuild the hair. And then you again work on mannequins and like use like this little jelly consistency on how to actually place color and stuff. And then you get tested out on that. I don't think you bring an actual model for that though.
Who was your first live model?
My first live model, I had 2 because you had to do 2. It was my mom and one of my friends.
What? Your mom came through for you?
Yeah, but she hated it. But didn't tell me. She hated the haircut. Yeah, she absolutely hated it. I did her hair that afternoon, and when my instructor asked her, like, oh, how does it look or whatever, she was like, oh, it feels great, it looks great. And I, for some reason, didn't see her until the next day. I think I got out of class later and was like out kicking it. And so I I saw her the next day and her haircut was like significantly shorter. Like significantly shorter. And I was like, what happened to your hair? She said, oh, I had to get it recut. Why? I did not like the haircut that you gave me.
At least she was honest.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, why didn't you say that? She was like, well, I didn't want to get you in trouble.
That's such an amazing mom.
Yeah,
That's so
still to this day, I don't cut her
She
hair.
doesn't let you cut her?
No. I'll at most color her roots, but I won't actually cut her hair. No, never. I've tried like maybe 2 or 3 times after that, when I was already off the floor, already working. And I think we just have different perceptions of what like good hair is. The way that I want her hair to look like is not the way that she wants her hair to look like, and vice versa for me. You know, this is probably the first time she's liked my hair in ever. My hair now has probably been the first time she's actually liked my hair.
That is that's hilarious.
Yeah, I would know.
Oh my
never.
god.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you know, people go to different stylists because they specialize in certain things.
Well, yeah, and I think for her, you know, she just is nitpicky because she knows she can be. Like with her other stylist that she's been going to, I'm sure she's like, oh, I just don't want to say anything. I don't want to offend her. But she doesn't care with me, so she'll tell me like, this piece is too long. Please cut it.
I'm telling you because I want you to be better.
Difficult client.
Yes, by far. By
you're like,
far.
no.
Shout out
I'm
to
like,
Mom.
no, I
Go to someone
can't. I
else.
can't do it with you today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mom.
Yeah.
But speaking of like different types of hair, like obviously like black hair is different than Asian hair, which would be different than white hair. Like, how do you learn, or do you learn that in school, or is that something that
you do and you don't? You learn. They don't point it out by race. They'll do it by texture. So they'll say like fine hair, medium hair, coarse hair. Like, I don't know what the technical term is, but like kind of kinkier, just very coarse hair. So you learn why it's so different and how to take care of it, but they don't say like, oh, black hair versus Asian hair versus white hair is different. But you learn that pretty quickly on.
That's right.
Yeah, even when you're on the floor in beauty school, you learn it
You're like,
pretty quick. If you get if you get like a black girl one and like a flat iron, that's a whole different ball game than a white girl asking for, oh, I just want to blow out in a flat iron or something. It's completely different things. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you now that you're out of school, do you still go to certain trainings or workshops to kind of keep up with certain trends?
Yeah, for sure. The salon that I work at is an Aveda lifestyle salon, so we only use like Aveda products, Aveda shampoos, Aveda color. So they have like a yearly calendar that you can hone your skills on, and then you can just choose to take other classes.
Like a yearly calendar with like a bunch of different classes you can take?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like different color classes, haircutting classes, styling classes. Like just last year, I took a men's cutting class.
Yeah.
And that was like a 2-day thing. And like this coming month, I think, or within the next few months, like I'm taking a different class from a different educator about like balayaging and lightening and highlighting and stuff like that. So yeah, you should. Yeah, and I try to as much as I can. Yeah. That's
dope.
Yeah.
I feel like hair and a lot of beauty, it's such a luxury. It's such a luxury for both like folks who identify as men and women. Like I get my hair cut sometimes once a month, sometimes twice a month, like sometimes I'll wait. And I don't know, Yoshi.
I cut my hair once a year.
I was gonna say, are you comfortable?
No judgment.
I cut it really short and I just let it grow.
Right?
And then I cut it, yeah.
I was gonna say.
No judgment.
And so like so speak about that. Like specifically for folks who identify as women, how is it different for different women? Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. It really just, it depends on so many different things. Depends on if you color your hair, what kind of color do you do in your hair. Like if you're just doing a solid one color, depending on how fast your hair grows, you probably want to come in once a month or at least once every couple months to get your roots touched up. If you're doing like highlights in your hair, that's a little bit longer because the grow out's a little bit more seamless because you're picking and weaving the color in as opposed to like solidly covering it. With haircuts, if you have a shorter haircut, you're probably coming in sooner. If you have longer hair, then you're probably waiting a little bit, and it also just depends on what the person is comfortable with. Like if you're okay with your hair getting longer and you don't really mind, then I don't see the problem in you not coming for a year. Like if you know what your hair is going to do and if you're taking care of it, like I'm not the kind of stylist that says you need to come in every single month for a trim. I'm not that person. Like I want to make you feel as comfortable in your own skin as possible. And if it is waiting a year and you like seeing that transformation of going super short to super long and you want to come and cut your hair once a year, then come in once a year and cut your hair off. I don't care.
For sure.
Like it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
So it really depends on like lifestyle, the kind of cut, the kind of color, how much you're willing to take of like, I don't feel comfortable with my hair anymore.
Right.
What would you say is the number one thing that people don't know when it comes to hair, like about their hair? Or the number one mistake?
Washing your hair every day. That is a huge one.
Okay.
You shouldn't wash your hair every day because there are natural oils that secrete from your scalp. So sebum. And so when you're washing away that natural oil, you're actually telling your scalp to produce more because it thinks it's dry. So that's why. So the more and more, you're essentially telling your scalp that it feels dry by exfoliating all the oil out every single day. So you end up just overproducing. So I always tell people, like, it'll get worse before it gets better if you stop shampooing every single day. And you can rinse your hair out and condition the ends, but just don't shampoo because it has those exfoliants in it to cleanse your scalp every single day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm asking for a friend. Dandruff.
Yes.
How does one get rid of dandruff?
I'm not an expert on it. I think there is like a clinical side to it that I don't know much about.
Damn, dandruff can be clinical?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, it could be different. It could
Okay.
just be like your scalp is different.
Yeah.
Like the pores in your scalp may be different than like most people.
Interesting.
But I think it's just also you might want to try like maybe massaging, like getting the blood flow on your scalp a little bit
Okay.
better, I would assume. And maybe brushing your hair a little bit more frequently to actually, because I think dandruff is just like clogged pore that gets like lifted off, if that makes
Got
sense. You know
it.
what I mean? So I think if you're getting rid of that oil that
Yeah.
clogs up your pore before it even has a chance to like dry out,
Yeah.
then maybe I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know too much.
I'll tell my friend. I'll
Yes.
let him know.
Yeah. There's also shampoos too to like really cleanse your pores.
Shoulders.
Yeah, Head and Shoulders is great. Not like
I was gonna say, speaking
Head
of
and-
shampoos.
yeah, Head and Shoulders or like anything that has like tea tree in it. That's like very kind of antibacterial and kind of cleansing. That might be good
Yeah.
for like the first few times, and then just kind of massaging your scalp a little bit more. Maybe put some coconut oil on that and just
Okay.
kind of get a nice little head rub.
Got it. I will spread all of this. Speaking of shampoos,
Yeah.
are there any particular shampoos that you would recommend or not recommend?
I
for
would not
folks?
recommend Pantene Pro V. In my personal experience, don't come at me, Pantene.
They didn't sponsor.
Yeah, they have, or they're known for like very shiny hair, right? Like in their commercials and stuff, like you just see this kind of glossy, kind of almost fake like hair in their commercials and stuff. And they have like fillers in there.
In the shampoo.
In the shampoo or in the conditioner that leaves like this weird coating I've experienced, where it feels too clean, if that makes sense. Like it's a squeaky clean feeling. Like when you shampoo your hair, it should feel rough, just a little bit. It should feel kind of like mine when I shampoo my hair. Like sometimes it gets knotted at the ends because it's like roughed up from the exfoliating process of the shampoo. Pantene doesn't do that.
The couple of questions that I have are related to like folks that are thinking about getting into hair and beauty. Like what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago when you like jumped into this?
I would probably tell myself to put myself out there more, I think. I early on and inside and outside of like beauty and hair, I have a tendency to be very introverted. And I feel like that hindered me a lot at the beginning. Like there were opportunities that I got to do different things that I got nervous or too shy to do. So I just say put yourself out there more, because it doesn't hurt anybody to, do. Like I had an opportunity once to do hair and makeup for like an indie movie that was like shooting here. Like I had seen it on Craigslist. I had heard about somebody that was doing it. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, that's definitely a lane that I thought about going into. And I don't know, something just stopped me. I just got really nervous and kind of anxiety going on in my head and self-doubt that I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not qualified enough to do it. So I think just have confidence and like take classes and stay up to date with everything, and you can at like 2 years in or 3 years in really be out here killing the game. Like I see it all the time on Instagram. Is some of these girls that have like thousands and thousands of followers only have maybe 2-3 years experience of like working. And they do it because they grind hard,
Right.
They work really hard at putting their name on there, being consistent, going to classes, paying the money, flying out to different places to meet people and network. And that was something that I was so scared of doing back then that I would tell myself to do it now.
Nice.
You know?
Nice.
Yeah.
Buying your condo.
Yeah.
Right? And what an experience that was off of being able to buy a place to live that was your own off of the hard work that you did doing something that you love.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I just want, like, I don't know, I always had this idea in my head that by the time I was 30, and I'm 28, and I bought when I was 27. I just had this idea of being like super self-sufficient. I totally like in a different way, obviously. But I think my mom owning 2 businesses, and she's like the most frugal woman ever. Like she never took a vacation for like 15 years. And she has some money. I won't put her on blast, but she's doing good. She's doing good. And I think I just had that work ethic in me. And I have the tendency to get super obsessive about things. And I remember feeling like this weird, like I all of a sudden feel old. And what were my goals by the time I was 30 kind of thing. And I was like, oh, a house. I could do that. I could totally do that. So I moved. I was living in Denny Triangle. Okay. In a low income housing. And then I just decided that I wanted to move back, and I used all my rent that I was paying and already putting that aside. And that's how I managed to save. And then I just pared down and like really budgeted of like what's important to me and like what can't I live without. And I realized I was spending a reckless amount of money on stupid stuff that I just decided to do that. So I was able to save a lot of money, a lot of money. And then working at this job and having like consistent people come to me and have a boss and a staff and clients that like actually value me in my work. And like one thing I always had a hard time with was raising my prices. Because I didn't know. I was like, how am I to tell clients that? You know, just like being younger, also kind of weirdly being a person of color, telling this like white woman like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm charging more now. So then I ended up having more money too that I was making, and then just saving that I was able to fortunately buy a house, or a condo.
That's super dope.
So planning and saving, budgeting.
Budgeting is everything. And what I did do too was I paid off all my credit card bills before I actually started saving.
Them ratios.
I was like, I need to have a good credit score. So let me pay off all my credit card bills before I even start saving. So I was like paying hundreds of dollars towards credit card bills because I was living at home and I was already used to not having like however much paying in rent. So I was just using that and like splitting and paying it off. And then I just literally froze my credit cards in like an ice box. And I just never took them out. And then that's when I started saving.
Absolutely.
All
right. And that's it. That's all I got.
That was it. There you go.
If you liked what you heard, be sure to donate so we can keep going. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, so be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. You have no idea how much it helps. We also want to know what you think. You can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can even use the hashtag #NoBlueprint. And if you're really down with the movement, you can join our Patreon account and become a patron, where you'll get exclusive content and limited edition merchandise. No Blueprint is powered by Ambassador Stories. We share stories of the people, places, and spaces that bring soul to our communities. No Blueprint is recorded at Ambassador Stories Studios and co-produced with me, Maya Aina. Hear more episodes of No Blueprint and get official No Blueprint merchandise at noblueprintpodcast.com.